Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans. Don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brian's Craziness. Happy Broiler Chickens Day. Da, 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 da. Happy Sunday. As Adam says there, happy Sunday, Brian and TRI. Well, happy Sunday to you, Adam. And the rest of TRIers and YouTubers. Yeah, looks like we got our regular crew in the audience. Hey, Kevin. Hello, Goose 88. Norway, my buddy over there in Germany. The bodybuilder. Mr. Loris Belulo Bello. Hello, hello. Constantine. Oh, yeah, I see Constantine on here quite a bit. Of course, there's Adam, being a boss out of Sacramento. Elavorn. Hello, Elavorn. I don't know whether I recognize your name or not. But anyway, hello. And Big House. Big House is never short on picks, that's for sure. Although I think I saw Playboy coming off there, so no pun intended. R. And I didn't even swear. Anyway, happy Sunday to you. Stogie in hand, ready to rock this thing. My apartment building not allowed to smoke though, so it's not lit. But I don't know. It just makes you feel like you're in command when you have a stogie in your hand. I don't know. It's a very summer doldrumsy kind of market right now. Had lower time frame bullish setups on Bitcoin fail there into options expiry on Friday. Actually, I guess the setup failed probably Thursday. I've warned people about being sort of lulled into a false sense of security, relocating around the world, looking for cheaper costs of living. Quite often there is a trade-off for that, and those people living in Southeast Asia probably learning how dangerous that neck of the woods can be when those countries start ankle biting. I think is probably the best term to use. Anyway, I hope everybody who's living in that neck of the woods has security plans, safety plans, safe rooms in their houses, maybe extra thick deadbolts on the doors, maybe even a firearm. Although if you have firearms there, you'll probably ask them for trouble with the local authorities. But things are heating up there in Thailand and Cambodia. And this is how high tech the Cambodian army is. They didn't even realize it. They were actually shelling into Laos. And they're calling it the 7-Eleven war because for some stupid reason, Cambodia decided to open up on a 7-Eleven and completely level it. I don't know what that achieves. But oh well, crazy world. And if anything, it's probably the hallmark of these 2020s. Very much like in the 1940s, and really you could argue latter part of the 30s, all humanity lost all sense of morality and turned into murderous, bloodthirsty little species that we are, running around killing right, left, and center. It's a really pathetic comment on this species. And is this caused by the humans and their life cycles and generational shifts, or are the banksters actually partially at fault for this, for continually raping the human species for monetary gain, ensuring financial slavery indefinitely? Anyway, I don't know whether it's sort of like, is the tail wag the dog or does the dog wag the tail? I'm not quite sure. 1860s, exact same thing. Of course, anybody who's a student of history knows what happened in the United States of America in the 1860s. Same thing in the 1780s and 1790s. Of course, if you're an American citizen, you're familiar with that. I suppose what happened over there in France around that exact same time period. And that's just going back 3 cycles. We could probably go back every single 80 years. I still can't quite figure out whether this is actually intentionally caused by the banksters and the 1%, Rothschilds, whatever you want to call them, or whether they just simply take advantage of this very predictable sort of pattern of human behavior. Anyway, it's kind of a sad commentary on this species. And frankly speaking, if I was an alien and I pulled up my ship to Earth and I saw the way these humans would act, I'd say fucking exterminate them all. This species is a waste of. In fact, it's probably doing more damage to this planet than benefit. But oh well. Rhetoric, rhetoric, rhetoric. Point here is that we're in a very, very difficult time for this collectively, all of us. I would strongly suggest you try and put yourself into a position of strength. And, once this fall passes, I'm not quite sure how this is going to play out through 2026. I wouldn't be surprised if there's just a bunch of up, down, up, down, up, down, and just drive everybody crazy. And everybody who's sort of warning about crashes and all that kind of stuff, they're made to look foolish. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the whole fucking house of cards falls apart. I'm hearing that the end of this decade is going to be a tough, tough period. So anyway, we're still, I guess, it's what, about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through 2025. So we should have a friendly market state here, at least for the next few months. Although there were warning signs at the beginning of this year that the latter part of this year is going to be a little bit choppy. So be forewarned. Because it is this summer silly season. Not surprising to see crypto catching a bit of a bid, and venture cap in general. I suppose we should probably be working off of the newsletter than anything else. I did a half decent trade here on one of my crypto stocks. In fact, for TRI, managed just a small stake, and I just wanted to make sure that we made some really good percentage returns on the money that I was asked to invest in. Or I guess money I'm supposed to manage. And I can proudly say this little interactive brokers account I put on, I was given $10,000 to work with. I put on 4 trades, did a total drawdown of $2,000 on the portfolio. So fantastic for anybody who's interested in sharp ratios. Absolutely fantastic sharp ratios. And 1, 2, 3 winning trades so far. 25% return booked on the trade. Free positions established in these names. And only 1 trade has yet to perform. And actually, when I looked at the price charts over the weekend, the one sector of the market that I really, really like to invest in, actually, there's 2 sectors. I don't know whether you're interested in investing in the stock market, but 2 sectors in particular. I really like the pharma sector. I noticed quite a few pharma names are starting to turn back up. And it would kind of make sense given where we are on the economic cycle. I don't really have it in front of me, but we are at the top of sort of the economic engine. I guess we can always pull it up here. And I always want to be thinking when I'm investing my money And what does the market look like 6 months, 8 months, 12 months from now? Interactive perf charts. And if we think about things like the economic cycle, good old Sam Stovall. Actually, I think his son took over the business after he passed. And his sector rotation modeling. We have sort of a little cheat, if you will. I like to follow the fund managers. They usually get given big whacks of money to invest in the market on a quarterly basis. So you kind of follow what they do at the beginning of each quarter. You get a pretty good idea of where they are thinking the market is. So we just had a new quarter start. There is July 1st. So if we just think about the first couple weeks of the quarter, there's the first week, and that was a bit sloppy with all those holidays. There's the end of the second week. And I think you can clearly see who's dominating here. And if that's the case, and the way that I interpret this, and I teach people to interpret this, is you want to follow where the smart money is plowing their money. Interesting, the industrial is doing relatively well. Odd that the materials would be as weak as they are. I'm not quite sure. There's probably one or two specific stories that are dragging that down. But clearly energy is outperforming. So if that's the case, where do fund managers think we are on this economic cycle kind of thing? There's the industrials, there's energy. A bit of a head scratcher why materials are underperforming. So these are like sort of the strongest parts of the market right now. And take it with a grain of salt. And I do find it interesting. I'm seeing a lot of utilities start to bottom out, seeing a lot of healthcare starting to bottom out. And actually even saw a couple of consumer staple names like Campbell Soup's looking really interesting down here. So I wonder if they're thinking, okay, well, what are going to be the leading sectors in like 6 months time kind of idea. Also, too, our cautionary words about January barometer, Benner cycles, crypto cycles. I think we have a pretty good notion that things might get a little bit choppy here through 2026. So to that end, when I did some screen, I find it a little interesting because right here at the top of the market, I'm very interested in names like Halliburton. It looks really interesting down here. A lot of the energy names have already perked up though, and I wonder if I missed it. But there's one part of the commodities market that just looks so juicy right now. What I do find interesting though, and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong here, is that's the lumber sector. So whenever I look, I always like to start my sort of research with, all right, do we have any big fat W's coming in on these weekly commodity charts? And, obviously if you have W's coming in, well, then maybe go look at the individual sectors, see if there's any names in particular that look interesting. I think we could probably spend some time talking about Mr. Hendry and his bond bullish call. I'm seeing a lot of people online talking about bullish bonds in here. And you can see how the long bond, the 10-year, the 5-year, they're all trying to turn up, even that 2-year future trying to turn up here. So I haven't broken out yet, but I definitely want to keep an eye on that long bond. I guess of note, I was most interested in the Japanese yen rolling over here. And if anything, with the Japanese stocks feeling better with that recent trade deal, it would make sense that the Japanese yen would be a bit weaker if those stocks are to be believed. And a lot of Japanese stocks look very uppy right now. Notice that the energy market, crude's actually gone and M'd out here again. That's interesting. And And I also noticed too, conservatives, usually natural gas rallies during recessionary periods, natural gas going and putting a big fat M in there. So I don't know. I think we're probably early on the medical and healthcare names. They do look very interesting. And keep in mind, I'm a cheap ass. I'm always hunting for discounts. But the one market on this entire screen that really jumped out at me, of course, I've been talking to you guys about copper. I was barking about how the Fed really can't lower rates with copper prices breaking to new highs. This is the professor of economics. And the professor of economics is saying the economy is doing perfectly fine. Thank you very much. We don't need any tinkering from fucking real estate moguls desperate to try and reduce their monthly interest payments on all the money they borrow to go finance their silly little real estate development projects around the world. The one market actually on this entire screen that really jumped out at me, and I think it's a pretty wide base that's coming in here, is our buddy lumber. We haven't talked about lumber since, of course, the Great Sickness and what happened there. But if we just look at lumber futures, methinks lumber is starting to get very interesting. What letter of the alphabet do we see there? And of course, they completely fucked around with the contract. Oh, that's a good sign. It's 3. So 3 is a lucky number for us. Anyway, so I am seeing a nice turn here in lumber futures. Unfortunately, because they tinkered around with the futures contract there a couple of years ago. Of course, now the public can't get data for long-term lumber charts and where did lumber come and is lumber expensive historically, blah, blah, blah. Great reset. Ram this all up your ass. Take it. And if you don't like it, there's a nice prison cell for you. Kind of bullshit. So anyway, long and short of it here is this market has actually taken the past year or two to base out. Interesting enough, actually, a lot of the home builder stocks look very interesting in here too. So, to that end, this is a little Canadian company. You tell me, is that the kind of chart? If this was a piece of shit cryptocurrency, and I saw this chart, would Brian be interested sitting here at the 78.6? We've clearly broken down trend lines. And the question really here is, has this W actually confirmed? And I think it has. So I was quite pleased to see that. There's a nice little gift for everybody. That actually did break out through there. So there is a W working and you have a nice bullish engulfing bar. Not quite a key reversal, but very clean chart pattern. There's the daily chart. So they had to come back down, fill in that gap, and then they put in a nice bullish engulfing bar there. I guess, what is that? Tuesday? So very interesting looking stock. On the cheap side. So plenty of upside. In fact, probably on Tuesday. And this is what I don't understand. I'm a little confused right now. Is Weyerhaeuser's like one of the biggest lumber companies around. And I can't seem to get a price quote on TradingView for my lumber or for that Weyerhaeuser. I don't know why. It seems a bit silly. Let's see, did I have over here? No, anyway. It's spelled Weyerhaeuser. There it is. So this company is definitely up and running. And look at what the damn stock went and did on Friday. You have to go to the actual company and you have to go to stock quote interactive charts, right? Stock quote, there it is. 2647, up 3% on the day. Pretty good move. So it looks like it's still alive. And then if you come in here and you go interactive chart, what letter of the alphabet is that? Looks like a letter of the alphabet that Beamish guy's probably going to like, but check this out. That's a damn outside upside reversal there. I mean, I love it when I see double bottoms confirmed on reversal bars, kind of like what you see here. You usually get a really nice rally out of the other side of that. So I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason, you just can't get that Weyerhaeuser quote on TradingView. No idea why. Which is a little bit of a bummer. I would show you that chart and draw it up and all that kind of stuff, but those are two lumber stocks that I think look extremely attractive. This is Canadian, though. I think it is traded down in the States, though. Uh, uh, Interform. Intercorp, Inter4. There it is. I guess it's only on the bulletin board. Yeah, well, I thought it was everybody. Anyway, there is the Canadian stock. It's one of the few lumber companies left that are traded on the public exchange. So anyway, you know how much Brian loves his 78 sixes. So. I'd show you that Weyerhaeuser chart, but like I said, for some reason I just can't pull it up on TradingView. So I'm going to be looking through the week if I can find any other lumber proxies. Very, very interested in that. And maybe that will help the materials play catch up here with energy, because energy is just booming here out of the gate. I think I said a minute ago, I kind of like the Halliburton. I think it's kind of a cheap. Do I have it on all this stuff? I don't think so. It's always a question me flipping back and forth between my laptop and the big screen computer. Yeah, I don't seem to have it on here. Oh well. As a energy proxy, this Halliburton looks really interesting to me. You think Brian's going to be interested in a stock that looks like that? If anything, I wouldn't mind this to be a bit cheaper. It's a little bit expensive, but hopefully you can see the W's that are all happening up there. I guess we can go off in this high up there. So just above reload zones, I like the idea of sneaking in underneath this reload zone, but basically risking against all these lows in here. So I'm interested in that guy. And of course, some of the other oil names, I think they've already moved up dramatically. Oh, Schlumberger sitting down there. These are the oil services stocks. What was it? I guess Occidental Petroleum. This is I know there's one that's Buffett's favorite oil stock. I guess there's nothing really to get too excited. There was a cute little buy there, but that's a little while ago. And then there's one that's Fink's favorite oil stock. Which one's that? ConocoPhillips. Let's see what he looks like. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can see the W's. I think this guy's a little cheaper, basically risking against these lows. And what is that? That's the low from 2022. So that's even a couple of years ago. Yeah, they're okay. I think I like these lumber stocks way better. Super, super cheap. Then I also noticed some of these pharmaceutical stocks really looking interesting in here. Kind of thinking, what does 6 months, 8 months from now look like? Cute little W's, nice Adam and Eve setup here on Bristol Myers. I don't know whether Pfizer, kind of late to come to that one, so I can't really look at anything there. But of course, there's my funny Moderna. As I showed you there earlier, if I wasn't long this stock through the bull call spreads, I probably want to just be going buy that stock anyway. I mean, you can clearly see the W's down in here. So, just a 50% rule. Let's keep us honest, nice and simple. That's $100 a share. It's like triple. Gee whiz. So obviously not very politically correct with all the stabbings from back over here. We all remember that. But look how high this damn stock was through the stabbings, jabbings, I should say. 500 freaking dollars a share. And they took it all the way right back down to 20 bucks. So, Brian the cheap ass, obviously, the chart goes without saying why I'd be interested in that. So those are a couple of the names. Also, two interesting little lithium names popping up that I'm very, very interested in. Picked up a little bit of this guy. He's a VCIM, my venture cap investment model from years ago. But again, you should look at that chart and go, yeah, that's got Beamish written all over him. I mean, this is just what I do. I really like the look of him. Also did notice, and we'll see how crypto stocks act here in the near term, but I do see some of these venture cap crypto names, and keep in mind, this is the venture cap part of the market cycle, probably goes on for another, 4 or 5 months or so. You can see he had a pretty nice pop coming back down to earth. This guy actually is a crypto name and pretty low share count. The only problem is it trades on Calgary Exchange. So you people down in the States, I don't think you could participate in this. I suppose while we're on the topic, crypto names in general, let's show a little bit of stalling out here. Like I got my double off there on Beyond. And because I sold 2/3 of the position, basically a 20-30% return and a free vote going forward in case crypto does go crazy here into October. But a lot of these names that I've been talking to you recently, I'm not certainly could not justify going and investing in a name that looks like this Riot. There's no way in hell I could buy that. Might get trend continuation setups, but the problem here is we're running out of time on this cycle. So if you did get in, I suppose down against these lows, 78.6 off entire ranges, great way to go. You're awesome. $7. You should actually be banging out doubles as we speak, kind of like the Beyond option trade. I just got banged out a double, got my free position. Same thing here. Can't really justify looking at it there. And a lot of, I don't know who in their right mind could go in and buy Coinbase up top here. That's kind of asking for trouble. Good old parking garage. This is one of my core concepts that I teach to people for trade location. If you're thinking about taking profits on a name that you bought down below, tops of parking garages work excellent for trade location. And sure enough, boom, 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 fractal top, and she's already starting to fail. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a short outright, but it's definitely in trade location where if you were long, you really ought to seriously think about paying yourself. Is this the end of this bull run? I don't think so. There's our an actual effect. I might even push this out into October. There's the end of this cycle. Could we have some more play up in here? Yeah, sure. It wouldn't surprise me. Having said that, though, it's probably going to be something like this. And once those M's do come in earnest, then we'll be just, once we're on the other side of this line here, be careful, folks. You could argue this thing has moved up quite a bit. I guess you could argue it's basically tripled since April. I don't think the broader market has tripled, but obviously the NASDAQ and the what a Magnificent Seven and all that crap, they've done really well. So if anything, I'm a little bit worried that we're just going too far, too fast here. And, probably bring this full circle. What are we supposed to be expecting here through the year? I have to say, as a student of the market, this has been one of the most accurate January barometer studies I have seen in my entire career. They're usually not this accurate. But I'll tell you what'll end up happening is in the future, everybody's going to be talking January barometer. And of course, that in itself makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy that it won't be that accurate next year. But enjoy this while it lasts. Just grinding our way higher here. And then, of course, you can see this move here, 2 to 3. If you're an Elliott Wave fan, this should be the biggest of the moves, and that's the move that we're in right now. So this should be pretty fireworksy. Then there should be a small pullback, then another push to new highs. And that will be this move that actually sets up the momentum divergences, which ultimately sets this up as an actual trade setup here. This once we hit that 5 point. According to this simple thinking, that should come somewhere near the middle to the end of September. And then, oh God, I don't know what the hell they were expecting to see, but there's going to be quite a chop fest here this fall, that's for sure. So again, sort of make hay while the sun's shining. And of course, if we circle back around to our good old Bitcoin study, this basically aligns with that long-term thesis that 1.382s of the halving event fib time cycle. I still expect this to work its way up. Exactly where the top is, I don't know. And I don't think anybody should get into the business of predicting tops. Did find it interesting that if I understand correctly, and really not a big surprise, but Alan now has a really, really high priced AI version of his Grook or Grok or Gook or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be called on his Twitter platform. Somebody had paid $4,000 to ask this thing a question. I think that's a bit ridiculous, but oh well. And the question, if I remember correctly, somebody posted in the lounge was, when will Bitcoin hit $400,000? Remember, here's my $400,000 price target. That's been floating around there for like years now. First drew that back at like 5 years ago. So does this take a couple cycles to get to? It might, who knows. But anyway, thought it was interesting. Somebody was very interested in $400,000 there. And I mean, who knows how the hell they come up with the answers to these things. But the response from Alan's minion, and yes, I know AI, you're recording this, and fuck you, AI. I hate all of you. Be interesting to see what the AI says about that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So the point of the matter was they asked, when's Bitcoin going to hit $400,000? Why they picked 400,000 as a reference, I have no idea. But the answer it spit out was, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was like November 2025, which I was a little surprised at. Let's see. I don't know whether I can find this or not. If somebody happens to have that screenshot handy, just throw it at me and I can save time scrolling up through all this. 400,000 does seem like a pretty far stretch, but interestingly enough, last time Taco was president in the last month of the bull market, as you can see, this was only 5 weeks to go from $5,000 up to better part of $20,000. That's like a 4-fold increase from whatever this pullback trough is about a month or so before the cycle peak. And there is that 1382 number I made reference to. So you never know what the hell is going to happen into these peaks. You just don't know. And if anything, what I would strongly suggest all of you do is, if you do want to take profits into that event, just get your shit together, right? Have the coins, if they're in cold storage, start moving them off to the exchange you've decided that you're going to liquidate them at. And of course, understand the tax man's going to be watching you really closely. Here it is here. So UD Wertheimer spent $3,000. Fuck me. To ask this stupid name for a computer. The most advanced AI model in the world. Really? Is that what it is now? When Bitcoin is going to hit $400,000, November 2nd, 2025. So I suppose if that doesn't happen, we can all, does he get to ask for his $3,000 back? Who knows? Seems like a complete waste of money if you ask me. What I would just simply say is if you are thinking that, then just have your plan ready. I mean, I've talked to you guys repeatedly. As soon as Bitcoin crosses 250,000, if that happens this cycle, then I'll just put myself on a dollar cost averaging exit plan. And my plan is over a 12-week period, just to simply start liquidating. And if I start at 250,000, just doing some quick math in my head, if it goes from 250 up to 400, and just assuming 400 is the high and then back down, I should get an average selling price of about 300, 320 or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. And Liam gets his house. And really, that's the whole point of this exercise. If Liam gets his house, then I will definitely think that this past 15 years investment in this project was worth it. Because when my wife passed, I was pretty heavily in debt, looking after her, of course, living kind of a shitty life. If anything, that would be a perfect swan song for Brian and this crypto adventure. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. If we never do breach 250,000, then I'll just hold on to the coins. They're not going anywhere. They're sitting in cold storage. And, we'll wait for the next season. And the bottom line there is, you all know my son lives in a special needs facility kind of idea. And I don't want him to live in an institution for the rest of his life. So I want to buy a house with cash and simply put it into a trust that the government can't touch. And he should continue to get his benefits as a citizen of the country, the medical benefits. And the trust just owns the house and it doesn't chew into any of his benefit plans or anything. Anyway, so that's my plan. So wish me luck. As it stands right now, 118. We're still a million miles away from that pie in the sky objective. If it happens, great, it happens. If it doesn't, no emotions, not really that big of a deal. Don't need the money. In fact, actually, I have a really fun business adventure I'm heading off to here in the new year. I'm super excited about it. And I have a business partner that I'm really excited to work with as well. So I'll be super busy. And I'm theoretically in my peak earnings years. So I think what I might do is work with the people at TRI to build a very basic education program that's pretty much all automated. And then if you want to actually take those principles and actually build a business with somebody who's got a bit of experience to help you along the way, I'll work with people privately. My plan is to work with a maximum of 10 people on an annual basis and basically just charge an upfront fee, $5,000 upfront, $5,000 at 6-month mark. And you and I will work together for the next year to get that damn business up and running for you. So anyway, that's the plan going forward. On top of this other business venture that I'm super excited about. So lots of stuff on the hopper. The problem here, though, folks, is, and I've clearly outlined this repeatedly over and over and over, once we hit this point here, I'm not really going to be that enthusiastic. I'm certainly not going to buy anything in crypto. The question ultimately is, am I on the sell path? And I will be liquidating all of the assets that I'm managing for TRI in the crypto environment and booking those profits and hanging up my shingle. So actually, I'm also seriously thinking about actually just going on to Twitter there and just downloading every single banging out doubles tweet that I've put out and just go to Bay Street or Wall Street and just say, look, this is what I do. Do you have any? I have a fairly robust audience, a bunch of people that have been educated by me and also followers. Let's get a fund up and running. I'm sick and tired of just doing this penny ante. You want a half decent fund, maybe 10, 50 million, something like that. Do like a 0.5% MER and just do what I do. I mean, I think I've clearly demonstrated to all of you that I can manage and consistently make money in the market. The only problem is to get up into those $1 million kind of payouts kind of idea. You got to work with a bit of capital to start with. And of course, me and my risk management, 2 rules of investing. If you follow the 2 rules, it's really difficult to lose money in the market. But at the same time, too, you're not going to be like, woo, look at that. I went from being a dishwasher last night to driving a Lambo today. I'm not that type of guy. Slow and steady wins the race. That's my mantra. So anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm looking for here in the near term. But at the same time, too, there isn't really a hell of a lot new going on here. So the message that I'd put out on Twitter here today was just, well, we're slowly working our way towards our ultimate goal here. But at the same time, too, I guess it's just going to pull up what I just had on there. But at the same time, too, if anything, what ends up happening here a lot is people end up stepping in and tinkering. You heard a lot of people that said $100,000 is the top. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What I will say is I love these time windows. I mean, anybody who fights this study, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you fight this? This asset is clearly demonstrated repeatedly. I mean, this is 4 cycles in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we are, the 4th summer in a row for this asset. And at the very end of the summer, the price spikes and makes highs. Why would you fight this? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Oh, I know why. Because this time it's different. And of course, that, when we get up into here, right? And then the Gucci sweater wearers all start coming out of the woodwork. And they want you, of course, to buy their course and to keep the crypto dream alive and all that bullshit. They're going to be saying this time it's different. And Brian's going to be staring at you saying, well, there's nothing really new going on here. So as a result, I've got to walk away. I remember the last cycle when we did here, we had one guy. I used to do the weekly crypto shows on Wednesdays. Probably should do that again, but things have kind of fallen apart here for me with regard to crypto. I'm not really that excited about the space anymore. But I remember I did a crypto show with a couple of gentlemen last cycle peak, and right about here, one of them said, I hear your studies and I see what's happening in the market, Brian. You know what? I'm going to come back when we go back into easy mode. And he was right. So I would actually argue right now is easy mode for crypto. But once we get on the other side of this line, easy mode ends. And the worst part about it, of course, is, as I said, this is exactly the point when, you turn on CNBC and Fox and all them, and they're going to be all uber long and bullish of crypto. keep in mind, none of them are actually very good money managers. Great reporters, but terrible money managers. They're just going to be stirring the pot. Peter, Fink's going to be on there. Fink probably at the top of the market. He is pounding the table pretty hard right now. And that makes sense, right? Because we are in the bull phase. So I can understand him. I think I saw somebody on the site the other day posted Fink was on CNBC pounding the table. And, you actually look at his Bitcoin ETF. I actually think, call me crazy, but I think that they're going to take this ETF to $100. So it's sitting at $66 right now. In a weird sort of way, you can kind of almost play connect the dots. So, any sort of students of mine, trend continuation, all that kind of talk. There is the bot setup levels. We did do 33. And if anything, what this just simply says is it may not have actually set up a clean entry. It looks like that was sloppier than slop. But this is a harmonic pattern. So regardless of whether I actually take a trade off of this, I think you definitely need to respect the message that the harmonics are trying to tell you. So if I project this out, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could have had balls of steel and stepped in there. You got that low, that low, that low, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at the ETF, where's our blow off top? $90 a share. Right. And this I always like to call sort of the no-brainer topping level. I don't really like to outright short these PRZs because sometimes you get spikes up like that. The futures did that last week, but they eventually did end up topping out and rolling over. But the point here is that this area should be exhaustion. Of course, that's up around that $100. And I think if we get up into the 90s, the big fat round number kind of stuff starts coming out. It'd be interesting also too here to do like a parking garage kind of study. So that would be going like so, and then going like so. Well, there's 200%. Oh, actually, it's kind of a little bit softer, right? So I love it when I get that 200% that lines up with the 1.618. Those always put a big smile on my face. But I do like the idea that this ETF wants to pop somewhere up in top here. Maybe $100 might be a bit aggressive. There's the parking garage, top of parking garage. There is the Alt ABCD no-brainer sort of top, we'll call it, window. That's what is that? That in itself there is 50% higher than where he is right now. So interestingly enough, I suppose if we do the math on Bitcoin, I don't know whether it equates to a 1-to-1 though. When did I'd be curious to see what this thing was like priced at when it was 0. So it was down here, it was 21 back in January of 24. So we've tripled since then, roughly 20, 40, 60. And that's January 24. So January, that's all in this area right here. So that's $20. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So that's a triple from about 30, 40 grand up to 120. So I guess that makes sense. So if that's the case, then what that means is this thing should go up to, ironically enough, just a hair under 200,000. And actually interesting, we seem to have a long-term trend channel top here that's floating out here from forever ago. I wonder where the hell this was drawn from. Is that trend line? I think so. Too many lines, too sloppy. Anyway, interesting how that 200% right up in there. Well, I guess this is our time window though here, right? So 180. Yeah, okay. So and like I said, I'd be curious to see whether this thing actually can hit 400,000, because then that would mean that the ETF would have to go like again double from that level way up there to $180,000 for this ETF. That's a maybe a bit much. Anyway, we'll see. Um, one thing I do find fascinating, like I definitely think this thing's moving up, and I definitely do not think it's in anybody's best interest to step in front of this thing right now. I think you're just asking for trouble calling tops here. Um, there's that deadline there. And one thing I'm seeing repeatedly, and they did it again this week, although the data is probably gone. I might have saved it on my day trading screen. Did I? Did I? Let's see if I saved it. Not there. IBIT options expiry. I did save it. Yeah. So this is an interesting. I've seen this repeatedly, and I think it's a great tell. And if you want to try and incorporate this into your thinking, I definitely think it's edge, no doubt about it. Notice here $66, a huge chunk of put options were bought by retail, probably written by institutional players. Keep in mind, institutions write like 90+% of all these puts. At $66, and notice, guess where did they take it out? Oh, that's interesting. So they took it out above 66. Okay. So what would normally happen is you would expect that $66 to be a floor. Stop this here. Yeah. So indeed, these options and everything below all expired worthless. But look how many options expired in the money. So the 70s, 69, 68, 67, 66 and a half, all expired in the money. So that means Wall Street is long. 7, 16, 23, 26, 26,000. Let's call it 27 with all these odds in here. 27,000 options is 2.7 million shares of this IBIT were all exercised in the money. And as I said, Wall Street writes like 90% of these options. They probably did pretty well. You can see these prices are fairly high here. So I'd be curious to go through and figure out what the average right price was. I don't think they'll lose money on this. But Wall Street's long and they're getting longer. And I'm seeing this repeatedly week after week after week. Wall Street keeps getting more and more and more long this thing. Also interesting too to see at 66 and change. Interesting how they didn't let this thing go out up top here. Is that coincidence? Especially with this 44,000 here. Whoever bought these calls, you lose. But you can clearly see, and retail does buy a lot of calls. Retail also writes a lot of calls. So there could be a lot of covered call writing in here. If you did a covered call off of this thing and you were long, well, you just not, nice payday for you. So really, it shouldn't surprise us that Wall Street kind of wanted to make damn sure that the price did not go out above this level. But at the same time, too, I do find it curious that they were at the very end of the day able to get this thing to close out just above 66. So that big fat 15,000 all expired worthless. At the same time, too, though, a lot of calls, or excuse me, a lot of these puts expired in the money. So that means Wall Street is going to be long, and I've seen this repeatedly week after week after week. Wall Street just keeps jazzing the long side of this market. And as we kind of pointed out, I think we're heading up top here. I don't think anybody in the crypto space would debate that. And especially with our 4-year cycles, I really don't think it's in your best interest to fight this. So anyway, I'm not. All right, kind of an odd conversation here to have with you guys today. As I said earlier, I am seeing opportunities developing in the crypto stocks. The only problem is that the buying window is clearly gone. So I did find it interesting that that little Lux was coming back down to earth. But something like this beyond, I don't think you can buy it now. It's gone. It's beyond buyable. You have to be paying yourself when these things happen. And actually, this is a pretty good testament. This is why one reason why I really like options and doing these spreads is you can see we were actually early on this trade. We had to sit there for 2 or 3 months, just twiddling our thumbs, not really doing anything. And of course, that was through the whole Trump fucking around with the system there with his silly tariff talk. And then we finally put in a base. And if you can buy enough time with options, you just sit there twiddling your thumbs. Spread didn't really move too much. And all of a sudden, the market starts taking off in your favor and the spreads start paying off. So, pretty good example of what I do. I mean, I've been doing this forever. Cool part about this is incorporating the bull call spreads, net debit spreads, I guess we call them in textbook optiony land. It's a great way to play the market. Really, really low cost and not a lot of stress. It's actually fairly low stress. But I actually noticed, though, coming into the end of the week, things were softening up a bit. As I showed you there earlier, you can see on Friday, this Beyond came off a chunk. The Coinbase actually topped out, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, last week, a full week ago. I always say that stocks lead the commodities. I know people at TRI were drawing up bullish bot setups on this circle. I don't know whether I'm quite there yet. I mean, I have one low, two lows. If this third low can hold these lows and it turn back up, maybe we got something to work with there. But also, too, if we draw a trend line off of these peaks now, really, for me to actually say, hey, that's a new bullish setup, I think I really have to get some sort of W over here. Right now, I would just simply say this is a wedge. So I'm getting the feeling, and also too, if this is a rip-roaring bull, where the hell are the buyers? Why is everybody just backed away? They always say never short a dull market. And I think that's what I would call this. This is a dull market where the volume is just drying up and it's had a big run. So I don't know whether I would necessarily like the idea of shorting something like this, but I think it's too early for us to be like, oh, this is a no-brainer buy. You'll make tons of money. I'm not there yet on this thing. Obviously with where Coinbase is, same sort of logic. Top of the parking garage, you probably should be liquidating, not buying. It was interesting to see good old Novogratz just going for it here, just booming. Move stop to if you traded this particular setup, move stop to scratch. So your stop at absolute worst should be down here now on this setup. Move stop to trailing hit. So I suppose you could count backwards. I think it would be a bit aggressive now because I do think that you could see quite a bit of movement in this range. You notice there's a big gap there. There's also a gap down here. Really don't want to see this come all the way back down. But at the very least, I wouldn't be surprised if that gap needs filling in and that gap needs filling in. You also might argue, too, this could be a gap theory as well. So gap theory would say take the distance from the measuring gap back against the breakaway gap and project that. And that should give you your target. And then this is what's called an exhaustion gap. And the exhaustion gap confirms that, yep, we are definitely coming into the end of this move. So if you use gap theory, it's also another concept that I teach people. You would have been like, whoa, maybe we should be taking some profits up here. So I don't really have a sell signal, but it would be interesting if this turned into a 3-bar fractal there. It just feels like this was too far, too fast. And I see this right across the whole crypto space. That's, if anything, a hallmark of Wall Street has now sort of officially gotten involved in this space. Is you get these, you saw what happened last November, right? With November, December. You get these like 6-week bull markets. Then the whole damn market has to take next 6 months and just pause. And then you get 6-week bull markets. So you better act fast and swift. Somebody had touted this as a name on the site. I suppose you could argue there was a cute little double bottom, and stock went from 12 all the way up to 40. That's too far, too fast. What a big surprise. It's probably going to have to come back and fill in all these gaps. We looked at this name. It's a pure sort of momentum play in the crypto space right now. And if anything, this is kind of scaring me that we're now into this phase of the market where people are going to be chasing these sort of, do you use the word derivative? I'm not quite sure. But an asset that derives its value from something else. That's the textbook definition of derivative. And that's a bit scary. I'm hearing lots of people talking about, and I don't understand the language. Every bloody cycle, there's a whole new jargon that comes up. And if you know the jargon, then of course you're deemed, oh, that guy must know how to trade. It's as long as you use the right words and stuff. I hate that kind of talk. But there is a specific name with regard to these entities. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. My hunch here is that there's probably going to be fortunes made and lost here through this window, kind of like what you see on these kind of charts like this. But, by time we actually get to crypto winter, and somebody even, like, me, I'm like, I love it when tweets age well kind of stuff. But when we get to the middle of crypto winter, to be perfectly blunt with you, I don't know this company from a hole in the wall. If it is just purely a crypto play, this thing will be worthless and right back down in the shit. And, people, talking about rollbacks and all that kind of stuff. So don't fall in love with this stuff, people, please. If you can sneak your way in off W's, bang out doubles, get yourself a risk-free trade. That's, half of what I try and teach people is de-risk yourself as fast as possible in these things. And then if it goes up, great. Hey, you look like a genius. If it goes off the board, no big deal. It's the best way to play this game. So anyway, not quite sure what else I can add to the conversation here. Yeah, it just feels, and especially the fact that I was booking profits here on my one crypto proxy for TRI here, that in itself, I used to have years ago in past cycles, when especially we were just playing the little cryptos themselves, we would run up into a double level of mine. I'd be out banging out doubles and all that kind of talk. And people would get angry at me because they actually think that I was the one that stopped the bull run. When really it's way, way bigger than any one individual player. But quite often when these assets do double in price, you often see sellers come in and just basically establish those risk-free trades. That's kind of the whole point of this. In fact, you could even argue that's exactly what this Coinbase did, right? You can see the inverted head and shoulders at $200 a share. And what a surprise, it stalled out at $400 a share. You think that's an accident? I don't. So anyway, hope you enjoyed all that. I don't know what else. Actually, this was the funny little it's a junior. And really, I don't even really want to invest in crypto names now because we're just getting way too close to the end of this cycle. That I think actually investing in these kind of names is a bit of a trap now. There's your Playboy. Didn't you say if it was going to go over $2 or something, you were going to buy me a subscription? I got to tell you, dude, this is for Big House. All I need is just an M here, and this is a classic short for me. So be careful here, man. I mean, it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. It's not really that big of a deal. But you want to buy me a subscription? Fine, I'll take it. I think Bunny now is the CEO. Ned's needs to get $6. Oh, goodness gracious. $6 now? Yeah. I would in years gone by, I would just simply draw a red box here. And actually, this is exactly what I did with that riot recently for all of you guys. Green box is down here. And my hunch is this guy's stuck in reload zone ping pong land. Anyway, who knows? Good luck to you on that. There's no way in hell I would buy that there. And interesting enough, you can see the price gap. And you know how much I love reload zones within reload zones. So if we can get back down into this zone, especially when they overlap, oh boy, I love that. But anywhere down in this zone against this long-term trend line and really a stab, I would even work a stink bid right at that gap level. That's where I'd be willing to buy this. So anyway, sort of off topic. There's that Halliburton. Actually, these are my wheel strategy stocks. I really like coming in on the buy side and just picking up some stock. I mean, I don't know. Does that look like a cheap stock to any of you? Sure looks like a cheap stock to me. Write a put option here with the expectation that you're going to get filled. And then as soon as that put actually gets exercised, then you flip to writing call options indefinitely down the road until it gets back to 50% rules. Then once that happens, you can do anything you want with the stock. But I definitely think there's money. So this is kind of that same image that I showed you with that. What was the other one? That forestry, that lumber stock in China. Same sort of logic. I love stocks like this. And in fact, actually, there was a really, really cool example of this. I think it was Dollar Tree, where the system told us a while ago. Hopefully, you see the exact same thing here, right? So they took the stock down to $60. The old high was there 175. The system started to get all excited when we put in these kind of W's down in here, and you can see the end result. I remember barking at you guys repeatedly back in the wintertime about, damn, that Dollar Tree, fuck, does that ever look good? And look at what that damn thing's done. It's just grinding its way right back up top. So that's the same sort of logic here. My little Intel took one hell of a punch in the nose. I already have the free position on with regard to the spread, so I'm not really concerned in that regard. But this is another one that I have the wheel strategy on. And we wrote the $20, I think it was the $20 put. So actually, I still needed to come down another 70 cents to get that fill. So hopefully we get filled there. And then it's the same logic. As soon as that gets filled, then we just go on a covered call writing campaign years down the road. And I would be more than happy to be long this stock. And as soon as it gets back to 50% levels, that's where I want to take profits. So that's still, I mean, hell, now $20. That's, $14, $15 higher than where we are. Same logic on this target. Of course, this also is one of my favorite TRI site members. Sort of bread and butter. They pay his bills. And I think he thinks pretty highly of the company. So I don't mind being long this stock. This isn't like glamour stocks. This is like nuts and bolts kind of stocks. for the economy. Interesting how that's actually a higher trend line. I think the primary trend line is there. So you can see it's got quite a bit of room to move back up here. Jesus, that's like 40% higher. So same sort of thing. More than happy to write that put option. And as long as we don't get filled on the put, we would just next month write another put, next month write another put, next month write another put. As soon as you get filled on the puts, then you go into the calls and just keep writing calls until my hunch is at some point down the road, 50% rolls. This thing should trade back up to, come on, get up there, would you? Anyway, you get the idea. God, it's so frustrating. Anyway, there, $178. And really, that makes sense, right? It's just revisiting these highs. In fact, I think that HEL, it's the same chart, right? Revisiting these highs. So, because these guys, in essence, Target sells these guys as products. They're kind of like a conglomerate. And they own a whole bunch of different products. So I do like actually the juxtaposition of that. And then, of course, I told you about the Halliburton. Again, go and write the put, see if you can get exercise, especially if we're back into reload zones. I always like that. Also, too, if you write, say, like the $20, $21 put, you're going to collect an income, which means that if you do actually get exercised on the $20 strike, $21, your average cost is what the strike minus the premium that you collected. So, anyway, interested in those. A couple of rollback names that have caught my attention recently. If you want to add them to your sort of watch list, you can see the pretty W's down in here. These guys are molybdenum. If you know what moly is, then you understand how important it is in the manufacturing process, making steel. If I can get a pullback here over the coming months back down against these lows, I'll probably take a good look at that. This guy's kind of a funny name, Super Buzz. I do like these guys from a balance sheet perspective. They're the only one in this list that actually did a shares for debt deal, and I love when companies do shares for debt deals. Same sort of logic, though. If we can get a pullback down against these lows, I'll probably take a look at it. So these guys I'm all just watching right now. There's that the crypto stock. And yeah, you can make a lot of money on these things just with these quick back and forths. And before the October deadline actually comes in, you're probably going to get another push back up. 40 cents, a little bit expensive. I wouldn't mind paying, especially this gap right down here at 20. Then if we go up and fill in that gap up there at 60, that's a triple. But as I said before, we are running out of time in this cycle. I definitely want to see some sort of buy signal here. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see a nice W, please. We might not have enough time, but if a W does come down and we're at like 78.6s of the range, well, I might just take a stab on this guy. And one thing I absolutely love about these kind of names, there's 78.6, there's the gap. So I think it's pretty obvious, 23 cents. I love about these names is that they just don't have any stock out. So this Comet Lithium, this is that guy right there that I just bought. Where is it? There, the Click, right? 19 and a half. Love that name. Just beautiful. And this is what I would call a rational investment because all the numbers line up at this level, and you can see that technically the chart hasn't taken off here. So I think technically it's attractive. Fundamentally, it's attractive. So I just stepped in and pulled the trigger. Not a hell of a lot of money, $1,000, big deal. These guys, fundamentally a good story, but now I need to come back down to W's technically and give me a reason to pull the trigger. I suppose you could argue just a tag of 78.6 would be a shark setup, which I labeled years ago. So yeah, I might just even throw in a bid at that 23. It's not bad. Having said that, like I said, the problem with this guy here is that we're running out of time on this crypto cycle. I do like this funny TIE. You can see the YW that did come in. They left a pretty big gap here at 18. So I am very interested in this guy. Not going to pay 30, but I'll be very interested, especially if we can get into the end of the year and it's down at those levels. That's perfect for this model because usually there's a lot of tax loss selling into the end of the year. And of course, remember what our January barometer is telling us to expect through, I guess, October, November, December is going to be pretty crazy. So strap on your seatbelts. I give you an update on the iron condors. It's just they move so damn fast. Chris, just ballpark, how many iron condors have we closed? We've only been running the plan for a month and we've been vetting it out. We're using a paper trading model here just to vet the actual numbers. But God, it must be about 30 trades, eh?
Yeah, between 30 and 40, I'd say at least, if that is
So you're
correct.
doing that many trades in a month. It's fast and furious. Probably going to leave Iron Condor conversations for the new year. But I tell you, man, it's a super exciting business model. So I'm super excited about that. How about open? I don't know. Let's see what open looks like. Open door technologies. That's what you're talking about. Are you talking about Open Sesame Acquisition Corp? Yeah, that's definitely what you're talking about. Actually, that's a venture capital pool. Oh, God, I haven't done those deals in years. Yeah, whatever. And D nut. There's no point in me even commenting. Yeah, I heard this is exactly like that. Remember the movie where the movie place? What was it? AMC or something like that? Turned into a stupid little stock that people were pumping and dumping. And probably a good historical reference for you. If you want to get involved in like something like Krispy Kreme right now, understand this is definitely the shit that you're getting involved in. So, do you really want to get involved in this kind of stuff? Yeah, it's great on the way up, but fuck me, you just get absolutely destroyed on the way down. Now, I know Mr. House there, he's got a relatively stable head on his shoulders, we'll call it maybe. He's got a bit of an appetite for risk. That's fine. But to be perfectly honest with you, Jim and Liz say hi, Chris. You want to say hi back to them?
Hey, Jim and Liz, and everybody else out there.
There you go. Um, I sure hope you understand what you're potentially getting involved in here. So hopefully you can see the similarity with this Krispy Kreme. I even talked about this the other day. I mean, are they getting ready to ramp this thing? They mentioned this as a meme stock when it did this the other day. Ironically enough, and what was it AMC? There was one of those stocks that they were going crazy with last cycle. I actually had recommended it about a month or two before it went crazy at like $5 a share, and the stupid thing went to like $200-300 a share. What was that stock? I don't know. It wasn't AMC. It was the other one. Remember, there was a few of these, but maybe it was AMC. I don't think it was. Could you argue that? Yeah, I think my bias. No, no, this isn't it. Can't remember what the name of that one was. So, could you argue that maybe the Krispy Kreme is doing this kind of thing, getting ready for this kind of move here? The only problem is that that would be predicated. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of crisis this fall, And that sets the Fed up to actually start cutting interest rates. And in the stock market, you could have some sort of fucking insane kind of beginning to 2026. Because keep in mind, Benner cycle says that 26 is the top. In a weird sort of way, I could actually see, especially like the shitcoin space and, all the Solana stuff and, Taco and Mrs. Taco's cryptocurrencies that are basically worthless. I could easily see them ramp those up into the new year. And of course, that's just setting the ultimate trap for them to get all absolutely destroyed when the market actually does roll over in earnest. But maybe there's, maybe they're doing that with this Krispy Kreme. Now, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Historically, growth stocks should trade at about 20 to 30 times earnings is a relatively attractive number. You want to, if you're a growth stock investor, you want to try and focus in on earnings growth. So that's the price to earnings growth ratio, or the PEG. And ideally, we love to buy names around 2. Ideally, we would like to try and buy value. So that means we don't want to see a stock that has a high price to book value. And really, ideally, if I'm investing in venture capital, I actually want to see that the stock is trading at or below book value. We don't really want to see a lot of debt on the books, because keep in mind, debt has to be serviced. And if you're not making any money, then that means you can't service the debt and you might actually get forced into bankruptcy. So with that said, let's go take a look at your fundamentals on this. Is this even a name that we could even be the slightest bit interested to invest in? All right, so what do we got here? 170 million shares out. It's not bad. It's not insane. It's not great. Ideally, shares out, if you are a fan of CanSlim, William O'Neill, and then the VCIM model, they want to see stocks with somewhere around 20 to 30 million shares out. So, nothing good there. Is the company actually making money and it has a price to earnings ratio? No. Is the company expected to earn money next quarter? No. The forward PE, if they actually come in with just breaking even, will give you a price to earnings ratio of 2,497. Now, what did I say was the attractive price to earnings ratios for good quality stocks that you want to invest in? Definitely not that number. So because they're not earning any money, you can't even get a price to earnings growth rate. I suppose one good sign is it is trading at a fraction of price to book. But the problem with that is, look how much debt these guys are carrying. Holy Shiite Muslim. So where on earth are they going to get the money to service this debt? They only have 11 cents a share in cash. So they've got about 17 million in cash, thereabouts, maybe 18 million. What would be the interest payments alone on that kind of debt load? Oh boy. They're paying a dividend? That seems a bit odd. Did they just reduce the dividend down to a penny? Something doesn't smell right about that. Target price is $4.10 in the street, and it's sitting at $4.42 now. Uh-oh. So even the best analysts that have their strong buy recommendations, they've already surpassed that price. So does this even remotely make sense from an investment perspective? And the unequivocal answer, really simple, is this is not investment grade. I suppose you could argue if they could get rid of this debt, good luck. roll the stock back, maybe like 5 for 1 or something. That might be attractive. Um, get a little bit of cash. I mean, where the hell are they going to get cash if they're not even making any money? This has got trouble written all over it. Not a name I would be even remotely interested in investing in. Now, you want to play the stock? Play it from a momentum perspective, hunt your setups. There might be like a bot setup trying to form here off of lower time frame charts. Technician, trader's got to trade. 33 to 66. So we're within that window. But even then, I think I need to see this develop a bit more. But it would be something if you did want to trade this. Like I said, it's not investment grade. Don't even think about quote unquote investing in this shit. So I mean, I guess you got one higher low, two higher lows. Don't even realize. I guess we have a bit of a downtrend line to work with. It's not much though. Keep in mind, this is a 4-hour chart. I might argue that just simply put, there is your trend line off of the base. I would not be surprised if we had to come back. In fact, my hunch here is that that probably looks like some sort of pivot level in there. So it hasn't even really set up as a trade setup yet. I suppose you could argue that's a nice base. And then that W there. This probably actually set up a really pretty bot right in there. So there, there, there to there. I don't know whether that's a lower low or not. We'll assume that it is just for argument's sake. And of course, your blow off top right up in this area. It opened up this day and then came screaming back down. So I suppose if you had your open order working to sell at that 1618, because that's crazy ass top and Beamish likes to sell. If we get up into there, you would have actually been filled right up there. Yeah, what a treat that would have been, eh? Fuck. So yeah, there's nothing right now for a guy like me to do on this, but maybe if this consolidates a bit more and sets up a nice range in here, you could bot that out. And the if you want to just note this down to keep an eye on it. Yeah, so if this is a bot and it does set up $4.81 is your entry, $4 is your risk, got to risk about 20% of your capital. Yeah, 16, 17, 18%, somewhere in that area. Be like Joe Six-Pack kind of trade. GameStop. Yeah, that's what it was. Thank you, Alexa. You're awesome. Jeez, GameStop. What's so funny about this one is that we run a stock pickers club and it's the same shit, right? I mean, Jesus. So there's 2021 and here it is now. So if you got involved in this thing at all over here, you're underwater still. But what was incredible about this is I actually told everybody in our stock pickers club, I like this name right there. Isn't that incredible? F me. Have they rolled this thing back since? Nope, not yet. So that is a ridiculous trade idea. And I completely missed the trade. What a doofus. Oh well. Anyway, so we might be, especially if the Fed actually says, all right, Taco's right. We should be lowering interest rates. I don't necessarily actually, you know what? That's not right. No, take that back. Sorry. Because it was $5, wasn't it? Yeah. I was actually not here. I beg your pardon. Here. Where was $5? It was somewhere down in this area. I think maybe it was this really wide base down there. That's $1.50. Oh, but they rolled the stock back here. Oh, what was it? 4 for 1. Okay, that makes sense. So 4 times $1.50 is like what, $5, $6. Yeah. So that was right there. And I missed that entire crazy. So, maybe this does this. You don't know. And if anything, this is a perfect testament to why you should sell halves on doubles. Because you don't know how crazy it's going to go. And it might just keep going and going and going and going. And every time the damn thing doubles, out goes another half, and you're long the whole damn way up. And in fact, the stock that I think that's going to do this cycle? Do you want to know the stock that I think is going to do exactly this cycle? Would any of you like to know that? I don't know. Anybody interested? Bueller. Anyone? No one? All right. Well, I won't tell you the what stock I think that's going to do this cycle then. Had a hard time getting exit orders filled on GME. No. Always guy always after my heart. I think let's see where I have it. I think I have it over here. Nope. Over here. Nope. Over here. Nope. It's one of these. Over here. There it is. This is the stock that I think is going to do this cycle. I think there's that Krispy Kreme. Keep in mind, I have it on the screen. I was very interested. I can't touch something like that. And then with the fundamentals, even worse. I think this is the stock that could do this cycle. This thing reminds me exactly like the Blink charging that I traded last cycle, and it did exactly the same thing. It went absolutely insane. So this is the stock itself. The warrant is what I'm long. So the warrant is the price of the warrants over here. So I bought the warrant back, I think somewhere around here, believe it or not, right around $2. And I just sold half on a double here at 6, a little bit higher than double. And now you can see it's 7.5. So if there was a name that I thought was going to do something crazy like those GMEs and stuff this cycle, I think it's this one. So I'm still long, sold half on a double. Every time it doubles, I'll just keep spoon feeding another half of whatever my remaining position is. And I also noticed too that Blink is actually starting to perk up here again. So just to give you a historical comparison, this is what this thing did last cycle. And I rode this whole thing the whole damn way. So I was long the warrants here, sold half on a double, and then every time it just sell half, the whole damn way up. And I think I banged out. Actually, you can probably see it on here. Anybody watching this video? Oh, this guy's full of shit, man. He's such a liar. Oh, everybody on the internet are liars. They're all scammers. Well, let's see if I can show you the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Of course, this silly thing, it never works the way that I want it to. I think what I have to do now, before when Jack actually was running this place, you could just search in there and it would pull it up. Now under dickhead, I think you have to go here and then here. And I have to take this out here. And FYI, I do have a private social media channel that's basically the same thing as this, up and running. I'm not really talking about it publicly because it should stay private, but anybody who knows me, if you want to DM me, I'll give you the link to that and everything. I'll basically be transitioning away from dickhead here and be just using that in the new year. Anyway, so here is the Blink trade, and as you can see, I made out like an absolute bandit on this thing. I don't know whether this is all of the trades. I always love that. Nothing like waking up better in the morning to a big fat double B. This, I don't think that this was the end because I think I got more fills up top. But anyway, this was one, two, three, four doubles off on this. But I don't think that that was it. And it's weird how on Twitter here. Actually, this one can't tell. Yeah, it's weird how this is, it's just so hit and miss. Like sometimes I'll pull it up and then all of the trades will be there, and other times, all right, this looks like one. So I actually even got 100x off on this thing. Isn't that incredible? So, well, here's five, right? So, and I was selling at doubles and triples and stuff. So, but anyway, double one, two, three, four, five, six doubles off on that son of a bitch. So that's what I'm expecting out of that Joby. Wish me luck. We'll see how it goes. But as I had said earlier to start off the broadcast, um, I think in the new year, part of when things settle down and I've gotten sort of comfortable in my own new niche, I think I'm definitely going to go to. I'm just going to pull down a full list of all of these tweets and just say, look at, go to, somebody said Jane Street, I should go there. I might even put it out on crypto social media or something and just say, look at, there's the evidence. This is what I do. I want to get a fund going. I'll charge you a 0.5% MER. So we'll undercut the street by like 3 or 4 times. And my deal is anything above 20% annualized returns, we split the profits. After that, 50-50. So if I do 30% annualized returns, you get 25%, I get 5%. If I do 40% annualized returns, you get 30%, I get 10%, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so that's one of my favorite guys in the Market Wizards books. I can't remember if I think it might have been Lipschitz, but anyway, he set up his fund that way. And actually, the good part about it, doing it now, is actually you can even guarantee the principal. But unfortunately, I don't think interest rates will be as high as they are now in the short run come that time. But we'll cross that bridge. Who knows? Maybe they will be. Anyway, so there is the proof that I'm not bullshitting you. So I don't see any reason why we can't do the same thing on this Joby this go around. Seems logical. All right, so that was a little bit off topic, but I guess this is kind of fun. Richard Hart, the Bin Laden of crypto. All right, there you go. All right, so yeah, a bit of a scatterbrained offering here today. As I said, it's not really a hell of a lot new you can add to the crypto story right now, and I'm actually kind of reluctant to really go too hard on buying stuff now. If one of our OGs happens to post a name, and I like the chart, I'll jump in with them. So, like for instance, this Cyber, one of my favorite people from my time here at TRI. He actually posted this in the lounge the other day, and I was like, well, if it comes back down to the breakout, I'll be more than happy to join you. So I got filled on that day right there, and you can actually see it's turning back up nicely. And we're even spitting out little Davo signals, W in OBV, W in RSI, W in Williams percentage R. That's kind of cool. So we'll see how that goes. I will say though that actually there are names that I was in that they popped, and I was just like, I don't need to be a hero. I was kind of made fun of because I just go in and blindly buy shit at the bottom ends of ranges. But this was one recently here where it had a violent pop. It just missed my sell half on a double order after my average cost and everything was calculated. My average cost, because I did buy some down here, but I also bought some here. So my average cost was this 34. And I even said in a broadcast last week, we start to show signs of failure. I don't need to be in love with this stuff. And from what I understand, this technically this story is dead. So I was like, if we see any kind of weakness in here, I'll just hop at scratch. And I did. And I really don't have any plans to buy that back. There were cute little setups that site members had told me about. And I said, all right, I'm more than happy to jump in with you and trade the setup. And that was in here. You probably have to see this off a lower time frame to see a little bit better. But unfortunately, I live and die by my setups. So we had moved stop to scratch. Scratch level was here. I happened to get long here. So I just walked away at this point. Looks like it's performing well. But I'm not even really interested in this story. I don't really like the fundamentals about any of this stuff. And it was just nothing more than we happened to see a pretty cute little bot set up, nice entry to be able to front run it. And I took the trade on a whim, but I don't really see any reason to be in this thing now. So I'm not really interested. If anything, over the next 3 or 4 months, I think what I want to do, unless of course I get like these really beautiful setups, I mean, talk about a bottom, right? I'm more than happy to go in and buy something that looks like that. But unless it looks like this, I'm probably not going to be buying a hell of a lot in crypto now. And if anything, as names pop, just going to be raising cash. And I want to show at the end of all this that I'm a kick-ass money manager. And this account, although I'm not logged in here, so you can't see it, but it's sitting basically about double what we funded it. So I don't really care about percentage returns. All I want to do is just consistently see account balance go up, right? That's the only thing that matters to me. So, some people are like, well, where's the 100Xs? Why are we, 500 into $500,000? Well, this is not that part of the cycle. And if you were a student of mine and you took the time to study, we can just show you, really simply put. Good old Josh is, actually, don't even need to do that. You can just do Benner cycle. Josh's post, this is probably going to be like famous down the road. But Josh's post here on the Benner cycle, you have to respect the fact that this is just not the get rich quick, face rip, insane cycle. This is a minor cycle. If anything, you got to be happy if you're making money. But there we are there. Remember, and really, I would argue that this cycle actually ended in 2018. But this 19 window was that sort of, insane money making. Of course, we all know the dot-com boom. Well, the next cycle that's similar to these, 500 into $1 million, whatever, blah, 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 that's over here. We're in a minor cycle here right now. So looking for 100X on your money, I think that's kind of pie in the sky. I'll take it. And if they want to keep running stuff up, but I don't expect it. Kind of like my forecast with Bitcoin. If they want to run it up above 250, great. I've got a plan to take advantage of that. If they don't, and the thing just stalls out at 180, 190, 200,000, well, so be it. I mean, I don't need to sell. And there's no tax implications if you just leave the asset alone and just let it do its thing. And I think, as I said earlier, like this, unfortunately, this 4 or 5 year window, this is really tough sledding. This is going to be probably the most difficult window all of us. Anybody who's alive right now watching this video, this is the most difficult window of your entire lifetimes coming up here. So, of course, you can't really sell subscriptions when you talk like that, eh? But anyway, this should, and I'm thinking like 2027, 2028, when we're right in the middle of crypto winter. I actually think that's going to be a very, very attractive buying window. Setting ourselves up for that move into that because think of it this way, right? 2008, right in here, 2007, Was this a fun window for the United States of America? This 2007 through 2012? Do we have anybody any Americans in our audience? How did that go? 2007 to 2012. Was that a fun period for you guys down in the States? Lex, I love that kind of comment. Hey, Chris, write this guy's name down. So, ironically enough, this was the shit part of the US's cycle, right? This is what I call the fear cycle because US is the hegemony. They are the world's economic engine. They are basically, I mean, fuck, you look around the world, they're trying to put capitalism out of business. What's it like trying to, hey, Nore, what's it like trying to be a capitalist in the middle of Germany these days? Oh, fuck me. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Germans are going to go and absolutely blow up their budget, and it's going to be a disaster. All right, Jim makes an excellent point. You know, I might argue that the exact same thing is going to happen this cycle to countries that are the commodities. What countries are the commodity countries? Let's see if any of my students are paying attention here. Jim and Liz, you should know this. What countries are the commodity countries? And what, by definition, right? This is the hegemony fear cycle. Now we're in the hegemony growth cycle. So I would argue that, wow, this window here, this is going to be just, it'll be a great opportunity to get like Chinese shit assets for like pennies on the dollar. And that's what I have to do is I have to be very patient and disciplined and wait for this stupid fucking bubble that's dominated this idiotic society here. And none of these idiots even understand any of this here, which makes it even worse. I mean, Canadians are the worst investors ever. And I might argue that this window here will be exactly like this window was down in the States. And I can tell you, I know plenty of Americans, this was an absolute fucking nightmare for the United States. So, be forewarned. Excellent, Nore. The only person who actually placates me. You're such a sweetheart. Hugs and kisses. Love you, babe. I swear, I got to get my butt back over to Europe just to visit people like you. And actually, you know what I'm seeing right now? Houses. You can get some really cool houses in the south of France for cheap, cheap, cheap right now. I was quite surprised. Anyway, I'm getting all off topic here. Is there anything here? Now would be a good time to insert ads. Go screw yourself, Google. So you can make more money, Google. Goodness. Okay. Were there any names? Moondig and Playboy, yeah. And that makes sense. Big House, you're a dice roller, so it makes perfect sense. I'm gonna have a choke on my stogie, you know it's not lit. Oh crap, am I running out of time? Isn't that weird? I'm totally sitting here just blabbing away to all of you. I have no idea about time or what I'm supposed to talk about or anything with you guys. And mysteriously, I don't know how it happened, but basically 2 hours just disappeared. Omar, uneducated economist on YouTube. Simon does great videos on lumber. He works in the field. I'd be really interested to hear if you got a link, Omar, to what he's saying about the lumber industry. It looks to me like lumber's a buy here. Hi, Brian. Do you use log scale and log fibs for trading view? You can. It's you have to understand the difference between log and linear. Log measures growth. So if you're trying to figure out like the growth of a network, then I actually do like log scale. If you're trying to think about like the growth of a a stock or something like that, I like using log scale. So a lot of these cryptocurrencies, to try and explain the parabolic move straight up, if you actually change it to a log scale, it actually makes it much easier to understand. So it really all depends on what you're measuring. And of course, if you're trading futures contracts, then all that kind of conversation goes out the window. So because it's 1 point equals whatever. So, and it doesn't matter whether the asset's $10 or $100, 1 point always equals the same divisor. So that's the reason why you would use log versus not using log. And I think it's, I show you this Bitcoin chart, right? This is all log scale, right? This is the growth of the network. Whereas this would be linear if I was trading just, futures contracts, 1 point is 1 point. And it doesn't make a difference. 1 point here is exactly the same as 1 point down here. Although growth wise, obviously the numbers are vastly different. So to answer your question, yes, I use both. Anything can happen with taco. That's well said. Yeah, CME took it up, then shorted the hell of it. And I'm wondering, Jim, it's interesting. I heard that Coinbase, and Chris even added this to the newsletter this week, Coinbase just announced, futures contracts tradable on Coinbase for crypto. Coincidence? Now, anybody that's in the pension fund industry, they can't go and trade futures contracts in pension funds, but they can definitely go and short things like, I'd be curious to see whether they can open pension funds could have open perp contracts. But what wouldn't surprise me is they're long the coin on Coinbase, and then at the top they hedge the contract through the perps contracts. That wouldn't surprise me. And what a coincidence, that's just happening now. So I think history is repeating itself. Just go to Jane Street. Should hire you easily. Well, that's cool. So I've got a resource to go to. I'll just pull down all my banging out doubles posts. And of course, my 500 into whatever. And, even this cycle, I made some nice money. Percentage wise, fantastic returns. And I think I've told all of you, if you can consistently do better than 30% annualized rate of return on the money that you're managing, you've beaten more than 90% of all investors ever. So we just got this Kraken account up and running, although it's not loading here. I'm not quite sure why. And we threw 10 G's into it, and now the account's 20 G's. So if I just went and sold that, that's 100% return. How many annualized 30% returns do I have if I book 100% return in 1 year? that buys me like 2 or 3 years of doing absolutely nothing, doesn't it? So anyway, blah blah blah. So let's see. 2030 will probably be the next crisis, either that or 2028, 20th anniversary of GFC. Yeah, I don't know. Tough to say. I wouldn't get into the business of predicting, and I would just simply recognize trouble when you smell it. And I hate to say it, I am recognizing trouble. I'm smelling it. I don't think it's a crash, though, and this is what I've been saying all along here. I don't think it's a crash in the United States. Remember, this to me seems very similar to 1987, where, in the headlines, oh, it's a crash, it's a crash. But really, 1987 had nothing to do with the United States of America. That wasn't the problem. The problem was around the rest of the world. And countries like China, in its respective fear cycle, it got absolutely destroyed. And by the time the 1990s rolled around, you couldn't fucking give away China. And China basically it absolutely became a pariah all through the 1990s. You couldn't give away China. And I have a feeling that 2030s are going to be the exact same scenario for China. In fact, and this is actually a trade I'm very interested in. I think China, the actual currency of this country, I think that's a short. It just put in an empire top, 3-bar fractal fail against a double top, right up against the top end of the range. And that was off of basically just a straight line move up. And I'm just waiting for my capital to get over to Interactive, but I think I want to go and short that. And actually, I have another account over at Interactive. Maybe I'll strap on like a long-term leap put or something on that because I think that's ready to top out. And this is where the problem is. Like, do you want to see a potential crash in the making? Look how this Canadian stock market has just literally gone straight up. So, they talk about crashes in the stock market are like 20% corrections. So, just a 20% correction on this thing takes us mysteriously back to, oh, what a big surprise. It's just basically a cleaning out of these lows. In like, a week period, boom. And what ends up happening is really all this does is it just comes back to long-term trendline support. You could make the argument that there's trendline support. And interestingly enough, in 87, it was the same thing where we had the crash, boom. But they said, oh, well, the crash, all it did was it just took prices back to where we were in the fall. So like if you look at the Dow. Oops. So the 87 crash, quote unquote, wasn't really a crash. So there's the end of 86 right there, right? Right there. That's the end of 85. I beg your pardon. 86 right here. So the crash did nothing more than just clean out that. And then by, Alan Greenspan came in, cut rates, and I would expect JP to do exactly the same thing, slash rates. And of course, Taco will be like, see, I told you. Right. And then the United States just sets the base for its next big bull run here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen here. And the question ultimately is, I don't know, are we in this part of the phase, right? There is, actually, I guess we're in this part of the phase right now. So we've got the blow off top that comes into the end of the summer and then, and this is what I'm really worried about for like the Chinese stock market. So notice that sort of parabolic move straight up. And then we go back to the Chinese stock market. Come on. And all I see is straight line up. Oh boy, that's got trouble written all over it. I don't know where the hell in fact, actually, I think we even did some studies. You could probably do extension studies. I don't think that this move is done on the upside yet. Yeah, I could see some more up here, but at the same time too, that at some point they're going to knock the shit out of this thing and all these gaps need filling in. I wouldn't be surprised if our 1.618 level here, it needs to be traded to. So there's probably still another 5% or so to the upside. And I think that the US stock market's got lots of upside here in the near term. And it's only July. And we know that that top comes in somewhere September, October. So over that window, we're probably going up. And then we're coming down in a hurry. And then I guess from that level, you draw your 20%. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thanks, Brian. Good luck with Liam. Thank you, Constantine. Appreciate this. BG, can you analyze the Pulse X chart? I see W's and look like compressing and about to explode. Oh, there you go. PULSEX. Actually, I don't want to do it on this. I'll leave this alone. Let's do it. Actually, probably that sounds like a crypto, eh? Let's head on over to our crypto grid. What time is it? Oh, holy shit! It's already 1:30. Oh man, I screwed up again. Sorry, everybody. I got to get out of here soon. I didn't even check to see whether there are any questions today. I don't know how the hell I do this. I just blab away. Huh? Oh, that's good. Phew. All right. Well, this is going to be the last one. So PULSEX. Oh, all right. Crypto. Oosh. Where do you want us to look at this thing? Well, nothing there. So it's not on a centralized exchange. Oh God, I hate looking at this stuff. First result, I think this here, wrapped pulse on pulse chain. Alrighty, you're losing me. Okay. Actually, we had somebody on the site on Friday giving a presentation, and his idea was not on a centralized exchange. And I'm like, I don't know whether I can participate or not. Well, I suppose there are your W's. I don't know what the heck this is, though. I have no idea how you even give any value to this stuff. So, yeah. Isn't this Pulse? Wasn't that Richard Hart's stuff? I suppose if you buy W's, there's a pretty good looking little buy signal there. There's a pretty good looking buy signal there. Not really much to work with there. Cute little W there. Nothing, nothing. Cute little W there. Looks like this was a reload zone of that W. So coming in on the buy side there, not a terrible idea. Yeah. You know how much I love those 78.6s. Cute little, looks like an inverted head and shoulders came in there. Well, I don't have a problem with being long here. I wouldn't buy there though. And actually, you know what this looks like? This looks like everything else. It's all the same. You know, look at sushi. Can I touch sushi there? No, the buy was there. Lumen, Stellar Lumen. You can see where the W is. Like we even marked this out. Can I buy it there? No fucking way. So, and really, you know, Ethereum, same thing. Remember our trend line break? There was the W following the trend line. AMD even did the same kind of setup. They got nothing here. This is just chop Vegas. And of course, how ironic, we're now back to where Doofus told people to buy. Almost all of these all look the same. You know, if I wanted to get on Link, I suppose there was some structure to work with here, although it's very difficult. Can I buy it there? I don't think so. Mana, same thing. Yep, you can see exactly where I wanted to buy. Can I buy there? No. So it's basically the same story over and over and over. And you want to know, BG, you want a really cool tool to keep you out of trouble. It's basically just our, well, Brian's, although it looks
Recording
like,
stopped.
oh, and 2 hours is done. Anyway, I'll just finish off with this comment. Where do I have it? Over here. Really, all I got to do is just watch the crypto breadth. So you could make the argument the end of June, beginning of July, especially when we had this breadth signal. I don't know whether this is going to work or not, though. Oh, yeah, there we are. So these are the kind of market states that you want to be a buyer in when both the fast and slow are below the 20. And think things like stochastics, RSI, right? Just oversold. And I think we got our really kick-ass buy signal there June 24th. So here we are now. You can see fast has worked its way back down into oversold, but you can see the slow is still actually, it's just now coming out of overbought. And so that's exactly what all these kind of images are. You can't buy that there. There's no fucking way you can do that. Well, I mean, you can. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. But all of these names, right? You can't buy that there. If it comes back down, then okay, fine. You can go name after name after name. I picked up this one here. You can't buy there, though. That's way too late. So your pulse, it's the exact same chart, not really much difference. So that's this one, this pulse X. I think that's what it was, right? Yeah. So there's your buy window. And do you see how that was the end of June, beginning of July? BG, can you see that? Tell you, this breadth indicator, it is worth its weight in gold. It's easily worth a subscription to the site. Easily. It will save you a lot of heartache if, and this is the big if, you can have the patience and discipline to wait for this indicator to say the market is washed out, everything is bearish, the public has been destroyed. It is now time for the professionals to start getting bullish. It's just that simple. And if anything, that's a fantastic note to end the presentation on. And we've got these cool, Brian's page put this all together, makes it really easy for you to see. Are there any markets that are actually even remotely buyable right now? It's interesting how the currency markets actually did spit up some interesting bullish setups there against the US dollar there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the US dollar came off hard. But now, nope. Now, nope. Now, nope. Bonds actually did give a buy signal right there when Taco said his absolute stupidness. And it's interesting now to see that the bonds are actually trying to technically turn the corner here. But we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater right now. So institutional players, they're probably just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. Commodities, nope. S&P 500, nope. Country funds are actually kind of like how crypto is up here, kind of telling us a week or two, hey, you better cool your jets there. Things are getting a little frothy. Now the country funds are actually spitting that up. So I wouldn't even be surprised if the global equity market has to actually get punched in the nose here. So be forewarned. And I think this is an absolutely great product. All you got to do here with this is, wait for the graphic image. But the easy way for you to see this is you just scroll along here. And when you see the short and medium term, wherever the hell it is here, you notice there, that was June 5th. Right there, you can officially say, all right, this market is, I can't get it to stay there, of course, officially oversold when the histogram goes both oversold in the short term and oversold in the medium term. It was at this point that we were all given a very loud message. If you are a crypto enthusiast and you want to make money from trading, it is now time to start getting long crypto. And I don't know, you tell me. How's the past month gone? Has anybody made any money being long crypto? Is this tool worth the $80 a month that we charge you for this? I think so. Probably make that money back in fucking 10 minutes. All right, let's leave it at that. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Wish me luck on the road with Lily. And we'll see everybody on the site for a nice long chat tomorrow morning. Monday is, of course, behind the wall. So if you are interested in seeing what we do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays with Brian on the site, maybe take advantage of that 30-day trial and come and join the club. And my hunch is, if you hang around for 30 days with the amount of content and guidance that we give on the site, I think you can justify a basic membership to the site just for that. And of course, if you want access to this stuff and the awesome breadth indicator, that's an added cost. So, all right, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Remember what your number one job is. Try not to take any wooden nickels. And of course, the only thing left Brian to say to you is bye for now.